Hey guys, Shirley here. Hope you're all doing well. Today we're going to be looking at our spiciest kill yet at Mythic Il'gynoth, the tree boss. I'm still going to call him a tree. We actually get to change up our talents for this fight for the first time in forever, it seems. We're not going to be running Fervor of Battle for this fight. It's going to be Massacre instead, which I gotta admit feels pretty good to play with 35% execute again. And jumping right in here off the pull, we are not going to be popping Memory Lucid Dreams on the pull. We're still going to pre-pot, of course, and I was using Unbridled Fury for this one, not the crit one, since we're not lusting or anything on pull. And we're going to go ahead and just DPS the boss as normal and save our first Memory of Lucid Dreams for the execute phase. And the idea is that we'll have it up for each Il'gynoth. All 3 times he comes up at 35%, we'll have memory for each of the execute phases and get a ton of value out of that. That's why we're running Massacre. On top of that, I'm also using Second Wind for this fight because there's no just passive damage that's ticking all the time like there is on a lot of Mythic bosses. So anytime you take a burst of damage or a thing from beyond spawns, if you're running that much corruption, then, you know, Second Wind's going to help your healers out a lot and just rebound that health pretty quickly. And the big mechanic here is the circles, this debuff curse that's on all of us. If it's dispelled, it'll explode and do damage to the raid based off the size of the circle. And we're just going to be ignoring this mechanic and just spreading out around the room and not dispelling it at all. So we don't have to deal with the mind controls that come out on like Heroic and whatnot in this fight. You will have to deal with like the first one, maybe 2, depending on what happens, but after that, it's just a non-mechanic. And that's why positioning is going to be super important for your raid team. So you want to go into this encounter with like a preset plan as to where you're going to be standing. Now, it's not set in stone, especially for melee on this, you know, because I'll get to that mechanic in a little bit, but you want to be in a rough area every single time. And that also goes for the organs around the room. When we're charging these organs and, you know, DPSing them down throughout the encounter, I want to be mirroring my position each and every time on each of the 3 organs. So I was standing off to the right there, kind of at the mouth, and the hitbox on them is huge. You can actually hit them through the wall on that corner there. So if you've got a ton of melee packed in there and you need to back up some, you can just hit it through the wall there. And as we rotate around the room, I'm going to mirror that position each time and be on that right corner on all 3 of the heart organ things. And as we get back on Il'gynoth here, I'm also running Sweeping Strikes, or not Sweeping Strikes, Collateral Damage for this encounter as well for these opportunities right here. I'm always on this side of the boss, but I can also edge up next to our tanks here as long as you don't get clipped by the beam that he does in front of him. And that's going to allow me to sweep onto all of these ads, you know, anytime I get the opportunity and get a bunch of rage back from that. And the ads need to die as well, so it's, you know, good priority cleave, but we're also getting, you know, a ton of single target damage on Il'gynoth himself anytime one of the ads gets low, so we can execute off of it onto him. And what you saw me do right there is we get the laser debuff, which puts the bluish black purple stuff on the ground. And that hurts a lot, so you definitely don't want to run over it if you can help it. It hits really hard per tick. So what our strategy is the the range people are going to be drawing circles basically back on the edges of the room as far away from the boss as possible just to maximize space. And the melee guys, we had 3 warriors and a demon hunter and somebody else I'm probably forgetting, that we're going to be running over the boss, so the demon hunter can dash and the warriors can just heroic leap over the top of the boss. Now you will get silenced, and if you jump over a pool on the other side, you'll probably take a tick of damage off of it, so you don't want to do this if you're really low health, because it'll hit for like 200k and just kill you. But the idea is that we jump over it and kind of swap places, we make room for each other, and that way the laser beam draws a line through the boss. Since you can't be inside that anyway because it silences you, it's just wasted space, so we're going to go ahead and utilize it to draw out all these debuffs on the ground here. And as we're hitting this next organ here, I'm going to go ahead and use my Colossus Smash just on cooldown throughout the encounter, especially on those things, and just execute, you know, as it goes. And the only time we're really delaying or saving is on Il'gynoth himself once he nears that 35% to go ahead and, you know, save it and pair it up with our Memory of Lucid Dreams. Because if you, like, pop Colossus Smash at, like, 40-ish% and you don't have it up right as memory comes up during execute again, you're losing a ton of potential DPS, so it's okay to save it. Now, right here, this got a little bit messy. I had the laser debuff, and I wanted to jump across the room again, but Heroic Leap was on cooldown, so I couldn't. And I was inching up around the tank, but I wasn't sure on the timer on the I-beam, so I didn't want to run in front of the boss and just get instantly killed. So I was just kind of dancing around our tank on the side there until the laser, you know, went away. So we've got this kind of ugly patch in the front here. Luckily, his hitbox is big enough that it's not the end of the world, and I can stand on the back side of it here and still get in plenty of damage. Another thing about his hitbox, you can be inside of the ring and still hit him without hitting the dead zone where you get silenced. The little teeth animate on the ground, the graphic, you can basically get up to that line. So early on, you want to be as close inside his hitbox as you can. That way you're maximizing as much space, because by the end of the fight, there's a ton of the stuff on the ground, and space is very precious, especially while you're managing all your big rings around you. Speaking of which, the debuff on the rings only triggers damage once it reaches its maximum size, so it's okay to stand in other people's rings as long as you're not synced up. So, like, I'm inside this guy's ring next to me, but mine was small while his was big, so we're not overlapping 2 ticks of damage at the same time, so it's not the end of the world. And another thing is you're getting a ton of Leech back as an arms warrior every time you pop Memory of Lucid Dreams during these execute phases. So if you're taking a bunch of tick damage or whatever, or there's an eye spawning on you from corruption or whatever, it's okay because you'll rebound it really fast during that execute phase because you're getting a ton of Leech. And you're really hitting, at my gear, like 250k execute crits, so you know you're going to re-top yourself very fast. And as we're getting down to this third organ here, we opted to save Bloodlust. We're not using on this organ. Depending on, like, blood spawns, it might get a little hectic. Maybe some people would want to lust on this, but we're saving it for the final burn on Il'gynoth himself. I'm on the right here, and you always want to be moving to compensate for these circles, so it's okay to kind of, like, I'm strafing back and forth here because I'm compensating because I don't want to be clipping my mage on the right there or the warrior on the left if I can help it, and giving my warrior a little bit more room when I can so I can slide back in here. Another thing is that Ad is always charging people around the room, and anytime he goes on a melee, if you were savvy and watching for it, you could pop sweeping strikes every time he does that. Well, not every time, obviously, but whenever you had it up, like the Clotted Corruption there, and you could sweep, execute, or Mortal Strike, whatever, on him. Every time you could do that and get some rage back from collateral damage. That's a small, like, optimization that you could make that would, you know, definitely go a long way, especially with the end of the fight, all the blood spawning from all 3 organs at this point. Anytime you can be sweeping onto those and getting some rage back is, you know, going to be huge priority, because it means you can get in, like, 2 more Colossus Smash windows on Il'gynoth instead of just, like, 1. And right here especially, like, the Clotted Corruption's right on the tanks and execute range, so I'm going to be execute on him on Il'gynoth during Bloodlust here, so we're getting a huge strength buff, and I haven't even used memory yet. I'm saving memory for the execute phase, even though we're Bloodlusted, and another thing on Bloodlust, I'm not potioning again right here, I'm saving it once again for execute phase, and I'm using the crit one, I can't think of what it's called, the red one on my bar. And that's just because we want to be maximizing out, you know, as much damage at the end of the fight as possible, because that's where things really get dangerous, is there's more and more bloods, and it gets to a point where you can't really manage them anymore. It's just go for the boss and, you know, kill it whenever you can. I did want to point out, as we're getting down to this last one, that when you're playing with Massacre, like, rage management during your Colossus Smash windows gets a little hectic at times, because sometimes you'll overcap on rage and you don't want to just be spamming slam. So anytime there's a blood or an ad or anything around you and you can whirlwind, do that during your CS window to get that, you know, like, maximized test of might buff out of the way. And even when there's not, you can, you know, if you're overcapped like 100 and CS is about to fall off, then you can go ahead and whirlwind for it. But anyway, as we cap off the fight there, 100k, we kill it right as somebody dies and it blows up the whole raid. So hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them down below. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. Peace.